It started with a single night that shocked the world. Cameras flashing, voices shouting, and in the middle of it all stood Britney Spears, the woman once known as America's sweetheart, holding an umbrella and shaving her head in defiance. To most people, it looked like a meltdown, but behind the headlines was a woman crushed by fame, heartbreak, and control. By 2007, Britney wasn't just a pop icon, she was a prisoner of her own fame. After years of non-stop touring, a public divorce, and losing custody of her two young sons, she hit her breaking point. The paparazzi chased her everywhere, turning her pain into profit. And as her life unraveled in front of millions, the world judged instead of helping. That image of Britney, bald, crying, swinging an umbrella at a car, became one of the most infamous photos in pop culture history. But it wasn't madness, it was rebellion. The moment she stopped trying to be perfect and started fighting for herself, even if the world didn't understand. And what happened next would change her life forever, because that breakdown wasn't the end. It was the beginning of one of the most powerful comebacks the world had ever seen. But before the redemption, we have to go back to the chaos that started it all. By 2007, Britney Spears wasn't just one of the most famous women in the world. She was one of the most watched. Every move she made was followed, recorded, and sold to tabloids for millions. Behind the bright lights and #1 hits, her world was falling apart in silence. She had just gone through a messy breakup with Kevin Federline. The custody battle over their two sons was brutal, splashed across headlines like a spectator sport. On top of that, she was grieving the loss of her aunt, struggling with postpartum depression, and drowning under the pressure of being perfect all the time. Then came the night the world would never forget. In February 2007, Britney walked into a salon in Los Angeles and shaved her head, not out of madness, but out of defiance. Paparazzi later said she looked free as she ran the clippers over her hair. It was her way of taking control in a world that had taken everything from her. But instead of seeing a woman crying for help, the world saw a joke. The next day, photos of bald Britney were everywhere, on magazine covers, TV, and late-night comedy shows. People laughed, but Britney was breaking. Within days, she attacked a paparazzi's car with an umbrella, surrounded by flashing lights and screams. That image, her face full of pain and rage, became the symbol of her collapse. But what no one realized was that the collapse wasn't just mental. It was emotional, physical, and spiritual. She was exhausted, overworked, and stripped of privacy. The same world that built her up was now tearing her down, one headline at a time. And as the chaos grew louder, people close to her started making decisions that would change her life forever. Because what came next wasn't help, it was control.
Okay.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Chris, what happened to the hair?
I know,
It's gone on the floor, huh? Come on, we all saw that.
After Britney's 2008 hospitalization, the courts stepped in, but instead of help, what came next stripped her of nearly all control. Her father, Jamie Spears, petitioned the court for a temporary conservatorship, claiming Britney was unable to care for herself. Within weeks, it became permanent. Overnight, one of the most powerful women in pop music became legally powerless. A conservatorship is meant to protect those who can't make decisions for themselves, typically the elderly or severely ill. But Britney was a global superstar still capable of performing, recording, and generating millions. Despite that, the court granted Jamie and lawyer Andrew Wallet control over everything: her money, her health, her schedule, even who she could see. As The Guardian reported, Britney lost control of her personal life, schedule, finances, career, and estate. From that moment, every detail of her life was managed, down to what she ate, when she worked, and whether she could drive. Her father decided her business deals, and court filings showed she was even paid an allowance from her own earnings, while he earned a salary as her conservator. In 2008, the judge made it official: the conservatorship could last a lifetime. Britney didn't fight it, possibly because she was too exhausted or too afraid to lose her limited contact with her children. What was framed as protection soon became control. And yet, even while trapped in this legal cage, Britney kept performing headlining tours, releasing albums, and later dominating Las Vegas. The world saw the glamour, but behind closed doors, she was living under surveillance. For the next 13 years, Britney would sing for millions, but she couldn't even decide how to spend her own money. From 2008 to 2021, Britney Spears was one of the hardest working artists in the world, yet one of the least free. Under the conservatorship, her father and co-conservators ran her career like a business machine, booking tours, albums, and residencies. While Britney herself had almost no say in any of it, she released 4 major albums during this period, including Circus, Femme Fatale, Britney John, and Glory. She went on global tours and, starting in 2013, launched her record-breaking Las Vegas residency, Britney Piece of Me, which generated over $130 million. Fans saw her smiling on stage, dancing like the legend she was, but behind that smile trial was exhaustion. As she later revealed, she was working non-stop, often under threat that she'd lose visitation with her kids if she didn't comply. Privately, Britney said she felt like a child robot programmed to perform and obey orders. Every major decision, from her hairstyle to her performances, had to be approved by her father. Even her engagement to Jason Trawick in 2012 was tangled in legal red tape, since he had to be added as a co-conservator just to help manage her daily life. By 2019, cracks began to show. Fans noticed canceled shows, strange Instagram posts, and eerie silence from Britney herself. When she briefly entered a mental health facility that year, the public began asking questions, and those questions would soon explode into a movement. But for over a decade, the world cheered her success without realizing it came at the cost of her freedom. Britney was the face of empowerment, but behind the scenes, she was living under rules, surveillance, and control. And as the curtain began to lift, fans started realizing the truth that the comeback everyone was celebrating was built on captivity. By 2019, something felt off. Britney Spears had suddenly canceled her Las Vegas residency and disappeared from the public eye. Her Instagram posts, once playful and carefree, started to look strange. Fans noticed the same outfits, cryptic captions, and long pauses between uploads. It didn't feel like the Britney they knew. Then came the moment that changed everything. In April 2019, a podcast called Britney's Gram dropped a bombshell voicemail from an anonymous insider who claimed Britney was being held in a mental health facility against her will. The message alleged that her father, Jamie Spears, had forced her into treatment after she refused to perform. That voicemail ignited the Free Britney movement. Fans who had grown up idolizing her suddenly realized something darker was happening behind the scenes. They started connecting clues, court documents, public sightings, and interviews that didn't add up. They packed courthouse steps with pink posters and shouted, "Free Britney," outside Los Angeles Superior Court. It wasn't just a fan movement anymore. It was a global protest. Celebrities joined in too. Paris Hilton, Miley Cyrus, and Cher all publicly supported her. Even Britney's mother, Lynn Spears, began liking Free Britney posts on Instagram. And while mainstream media initially mocked the movement, the noise got too loud to ignore. By 2020, journalists and lawyers started digging into the conservatorship itself, uncovering shocking details about how much control her father really had. As the New York Times revealed in their Framing Britney Spears documentary, Britney's life was micromanaged to an extreme degree, from her credit card spending to her daily schedule. The fans had been right all along. Britney wasn't free, and the system that was supposed to protect her was the very thing keeping her trapped. But no one expected what would happen next, when Britney finally found her voice and told the world her truth.
Hey, ho, ho! Conservatorship has got to go!
What do we want?
Free Britney!
When do we want it?
Now!
For 13 years, Britney Spears had been silent, smiling for cameras, performing for millions, and pretending everything was fine. But on June 23, 2021, the silence finally broke. In a Los Angeles courtroom, Britney dialed in by phone and delivered a 24-minute statement that would change everything. Her voice shook, but her words were explosive. She told the judge she had been forced to work, forced to take medication, and even barred from having more children. "I just want my life back," she said. "It's been 13 years, and it's enough." The world listened in shock. For the first time, Britney confirmed what fans had feared all along. The conservatorship wasn't protection, it was control. She revealed that she wasn't even allowed to remove her birth control device, that she had to perform under threat of punishment, and that she'd been forced to go to rehab against her will. "They made me feel like I was dead inside," Britney confessed. Every word echoed through the courtroom, shaking the image of the carefree pop star the world thought they knew. Outside, fans wept and chanted as her words went viral across the internet. Within hours, Free Britney trended worldwide again, but this time, it wasn't based on rumors. It came straight from her mouth. Celebrities like Mariah Carey, Justin Timberlake, and Christina Aguilera all voiced support, demanding justice. The court of public opinion turned hard against Jamie Spears, who tried to defend himself as acting in Britney's best interest. But after hearing her testimony, that defense collapsed. Public outrage hit a boiling point. That one speech, emotional, raw, and unfiltered, became the turning point. The movement had started as a whisper from fans. Now it had become a roar the legal system could no longer ignore. But freeing Britney wouldn't be that easy, because while she had the world behind her now, her own father wasn't ready to let go of control. After Britney's shocking courtroom statement, everything changed overnight. The public no longer saw Jamie Spears as a protective father. They saw him as the face of control. Protesters flooded the streets of Los Angeles, holding signs that read, "Let Britney live" and "End the conservatorship now." For years, Jamie had managed to hide behind legal paperwork, but now his actions were being picked apart by journalists, lawyers, and even lawmakers. Britney's new attorney, Matthew Rosengart, a powerhouse former federal prosecutor, came in swinging. Within weeks of of taking over, he filed motions accusing Jamie of financial misconduct, mismanagement, and possible surveillance violations. According to court filings, Britney's own phone and bedroom had allegedly been monitored without her consent, a revelation that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. The tide had officially turned. Suddenly, even Jamie's allies started backing away. Britney's mother, Lynn, and sister Jamie Lynn issued vague public statements about wanting peace, but fans weren't buying it. Every time Jamie or his legal team tried to defend the conservatorship, the internet hit back harder. By September 2021, the court finally suspended Jamie Spears as conservator, calling the arrangement toxic. It was a stunning victory that fans had waited over a decade to see. Britney's reaction was simple but powerful. She posted a photo of herself flying a plane for the first time with the caption, "On Cloud 9." Even as legal battles continued over her estate, one thing was clear: the chains were breaking. The same system that once silenced her was now working to dismantle itself, and for the first time in years, Britney was in control of her own destiny. But freedom came with a new challenge. How do you rebuild a life that was never truly yours? Because as the conservatorship crumbled, Britney's next chapter was just beginning, one that would test her strength, her voice, and her sanity all over again.
I think the support of the Free Britney movement has been instrumental. And to the extent that it allowed my firm to carry the ball across the finish line, I thank them as well.
November 12, 2021, a date Britney Spears fans will never forget. After 13 years trapped under a conservatorship that dictated every move she made, the judge finally said the words the world had been waiting for. The conservatorship of Britney Jean Spears is hereby terminated. Outside the Los Angeles courthouse, thousands of fans erupted into cheers. Pink confetti filled the sky as people chanted, "Britney is free." Strangers were crying, hugging, and recording videos that would instantly go viral. After more than a decade of fighting, Britney had finally won her freedom. Inside her home, Britney celebrated the moment quietly but emotionally. She posted a video spinning in her backyard with the caption, "I think I might cry the rest of the day. Best day ever." It was raw, it was simple, and it was exactly the closure fans had prayed for. This wasn't just a legal win, it was a cultural shift. For years, people had treated Britney's breakdown like a punchline. The shaved head, the umbrella, the tabloid meltdowns. But now, the world understood that what she'd endured wasn't madness, it was survival. The Free Britney movement wasn't just about freeing a pop star, it became a symbol of fighting back against systems that exploit the vulnerable. Even lawmakers took notice. Congress members and advocacy groups began discussing reform for conservatorship laws nationwide, citing Britney's case as proof of how power can be abused. And while the moment was pure joy, Britney made it clear her fight wasn't over. In a heartfelt Instagram post, she vowed to hold those responsible accountable, writing, "I'm not just free, I'm strong. I'm still healing, and I finally have a voice." After years of silence, Britney Spears could finally speak, and the world was finally ready to listen. But freedom, as Britney would soon learn, comes with new challenges from public scrutiny to personal rediscovery. And what happened next proved that even when you win, the spotlight never turns off. After the conservatorship ended, Britney Spears didn't rush back into the spotlight. She reclaimed it on her own terms. For the first time in over a decade, she had no manager, no label executive, no one telling her what to say or do. Just Britney, free, unfiltered, and unpredictable. She began by reconnecting with her true passions. In August 2022, Britney shocked fans by teaming up with Elton John for Hold Me Closer, a remix of his classic hit, Tiny Dancer. It wasn't just a song, it was a statement. The lyrics about finding peace and coming home hit differently now. The track debuted in the top 10 globally, proving that even after years away, Britney still had the magic touch. But her comeback wasn't just about music. It was about rediscovering herself. On social media, Britney began posting candid, emotional videos, sometimes joyful, sometimes chaotic, showing the world a woman still healing from years of control. Fans called it the real Britney, while critics debated whether she was oversharing. Yet that was the point. After being silenced for so long, she was finally speaking her truth. In her personal life, Britney found love again, marrying longtime partner Sam Asghari in June 2022 in an intimate ceremony surrounded by friends like Madonna, Selena Gomez, and Drew Barrymore. The photos radiated pure joy, barefoot dancing, laughter, freedom. But behind the smiles, Britney continued to navigate the trauma of her past, revealing that healing isn't linear. And while the media still tried to sensationalize her every move, Britney refused to play the game. She turned down interviews, canceled projects, and focused on her peace, something fame had stolen long ago. This wasn't the pop princess the world once controlled. This was Britney Spears, the survivor, the artist, the woman who turned her pain into power. But while her story seemed to end with freedom, her real legacy was only beginning. Not as a product of the industry, but as proof that even after the world breaks you, you can still rise again. Britney Spears' story is no longer just about pop music or fame, it's about survival. From being one of the biggest stars on the planet to becoming the face of public public breakdowns, and finally reclaiming her voice. Britney's journey became something much bigger than entertainment. She became a mirror for millions who felt trapped, misunderstood, or controlled by forces larger than themselves. Her shaved head wasn't a breakdown, it was a cry for freedom. Her silence during the conservatorship wasn't weakness, it was endurance. And her comeback wasn't about topping charts, it was about finally living life on her own terms. Britney's resilience turned her pain into power and her struggle into a global movement for change. Even today, she remains a mystery to the public, unpredictable, emotional, and raw. But maybe that's what makes her story so powerful. She's not the polished pop icon the world once tried to mold. She's human, flawed, free, and still finding her balance after years of chaos. The Free Britney movement may have ended, but its message lives on. Britney Spears is no longer just a pop legend. She's a symbol of strength, survival, and the fight to reclaim your life when the world tries to write your story for you. Because in the end, Britney didn't just get her freedom back. She reminded everyone what it really means to fight for it.